Now in this tutorial video I'm going to be showing you how to create the photo holder in SolidWorks. What we're going to do is in this one we're going to focus on how to create the base, and then in our next few I will show you how to do each of the components. So this video is focusing on making that bottom bit. So we're going to be using the planes. I'm going to show you how to sketch on a plane, how to use the mirror tool, extruding a shape, filleting and rounding shapes as well. So that is all in this video. So just the base for this one, and then we'll look at the others in the next videos. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to open up the software called SolidWorks. It looks like this when it's opened. If you can't find SolidWorks, for example, you need to look on your desktop. You'll see one that looks like SW within a cube, and it's normally called SolidWorks 2023 or 2024, etc. 2025. They upgrade each year. When you open it, you'll get part, assembly and drawing. For this, we're going to design a part, and in later videos we'll have a look at assembly and drawings, but for this you need to open part. So select part, click OK. When this opens, you'll see that there is a blank space. This is kind of our designing space. On the left side, I want to draw your attention to the different planes. There are the front, the top and the right plane. Now we will use these different planes for different things. Imagine them as pieces of paper basically that go almost infinite length. Okay, so this plane here will travel forever to the left. Okay, but it is a space to start drawing on. For us, because we're going to draw the base and then extrude it upwards, we're going to start on the top plane. So if I click on that, you want to select that and then click on the one that says sketch. Here it's a little symbol that appears. The alternative is click on sketch, and you can click on the sketch button here as well if you prefer to. What will happen is the camera will rotate and then look down at this blue box here. Now this, we imagine, is like a piece of paper. It is 3D, and I'll show you how to rotate the camera afterwards, but you want to be looking at it in this sense. Now what we want to do is we want to draw a rectangle using our rectangle tool that you can see over here. I'm just going to draw this wherever at the moment. It doesn't matter if it stays within the box, but it doesn't need to be massive because we're actually going to change the size of it now. Next, what we do is the Smart Dimension. Click Smart Dimension, then select one of the lines. You can see I've hovered over the line because it changes to orange. Click once. You'll see that the dimension then moves with the mouse. When I click again, it places that dimension. Now here you can see that this is currently 112 point etc. millimeters. Okay. What we want to do is delete that and change that to 100 and then push enter. And we're going to do the same for the left side as well. So if I do that, what now happens is that this is now telling SolidWorks that these lines are 100 millimeters. You can do it on all of them if you want to. You don't need to, because what happens is it comes up saying that this is over defined, as it were. What that means is you've got two dimensions, and if I put a dimension here, it has to be 100, otherwise this dimension here can't be 100. So you can leave it like that. Now as you can see, I can rotate this. To rotate it, you use your middle mouse. That's the one that's in between the left and the right mouse buttons. You can actually click that in, and then it allows you to rotate the camera and rotate your work so you can see it in a different view. At the moment, even though it looks 3D, it's actually got no thickness to it. It's a 0 thickness. So now that we've moved that around, if I push the space bar, you can see it zooms out. If I click on this one that looks like a little sort of square shape with an arrow pointing up, that's called normal 2. We use that probably the most out of all of them. If you click that, it takes us back to looking at our work again. And same as in like 2D design and other software, if you scroll the mouse wheel forwards and backwards, you can zoom in and out, so you can actually navigate yourself around this. Now what we want to do is we want to actually add our design within this shape, because this is the size of the plywood that we gave you for the base of your photo holder. So now we can do our design within this. So what we can do is, say if I wanted to do a circle shape, I could go down to the bottom of the middle line here and it goes orange. If I do that, it actually gives me a line going up. If I did the same from the right side here as well, what happens is if I find that middle point, it sort of likes to lock onto it. If I then move over to here, it will then show me where the two middle points of those two lines are. I could then draw that out, and then I could have that as like a cylindrical base if I wanted to. It's a little bit basic, so I'm going to show you a little bit more of a more complex one. If I wanted to do something that was a little bit more complex, let's say if I wanted to do a star, for example, what I can do is I'm actually going to put a line down the middle, and you'll see why I do that in a second. With that line, I'm going to do for construction. I'm going to draw a line that goes straight down, and then I'm going to click. If that line keeps following me, I can push escape, which is at the top left of your keyboard. That gives me a reference point. So let's say, for example, if I wanted my star to go down like so, and then I might want it to have a point that goes off like so, might go down like there, might have it go to there, and then I might have it go from this point here over to this point here. If I now push escape, same as we did before, I can actually move these points now around a little bit to give me that different shape for my star if I'm not quite happy with the shapes. So I'll make it a little bit of a different shape. Again, you can sort of play around with them like so. Now you probably noticed that I only drew half the star, and the reason for that is because I want to show you how to draw using the mirror tool. So what this allows us to do, if I move that there, if I now click mirror entities, entities here is basically what do you want to mirror. Well, I want to mirror all these lines here, and then the next box is this one here which says mirror about. This is saying where is your line of symmetry basically. So that is my middle line here that we did as a construction. I can then push the green tick, and what it does is it mirrors those across. Now, yeah, you could draw them, but the idea with this is now if I move this, it actually moves them on both sides. So it actually makes designing much easier, and it means that we can make sure that these are symmetrical and we're happy with the positioning of them all. So as long as your line of symmetry is in the middle, it means that this should then be centered as well. So I could line that up right to the edge there if I want to, and then I can move my star like so. Okay. Now, if I want to make that 3D, now what I do is go to Features, over at the top left here, click Extrude, and then I can choose how thick I want it to be, but also what I want to extrude. So if I select that, and that, I'll select both halves of the star. I'm then going to make the thickness of this material, just check my notes. So the thickness of our plywood was 15, so we're going to make it 15 millimeters. Okay, like so. Green ticket. And then we've got our star shape. Again, I can rotate it to see it. If I wanted to edit that for whatever reason, if you click this little arrow here, and then you can see the sketch there. If I click that and then choose this button here that says Edit Sketch, so I'll hover over that, click that, and then it will be Edit Sketch. Okay, you can also do it by clicking within here, and then you can click on Sketch within that as well, so you can edit the sketch. The idea behind that is that you can actually then edit what you've drawn here, and if I move this, it's then going to change my extrusion as well. So just be mindful not to change your sketches too much, otherwise it can actually mean that your extrude won't work. The next bit is we actually added a hole that we drilled with the Forstner bit. So if I click on a flat surface, and this is another helpful tip within SolidWorks, you can draw on any planes or a flat surface. So if I click on that, you see that my little toolbox appears. Click on the one that says sketch. So sketch there. Now what I'm going to do is spacebar, same as before, normal T. That will then line up, so I'm looking at the top of my design. I'm then going to actually put my circle, and I want it to be in the middle of this point and this point here. So what I do is I hover along them, and because I've gone along and highlighted them, it should allow me to locate where the middle is. I'm going to draw that out. We're going to set this to be 20 millimeters because that's the size of the Forstner bit we used. And then the difference is, and this is where you have to pay attention to this one, we go back to Features. This time we're not going to use extrude. Loads and loads of people do this. They add an extrude, and basically you're just going to add material to something that's already there. We don't want that. What we want to do is do extrude cut, which basically takes away material. So if I click extrude cut, this time, if I rotate my camera around, you can see that it's got this yellow shape, almost demoing and showing what it's going to cut through. If I did it like that, it's going to cut all the way through, but I don't want it to cut all the way through. I want it to go down about 10 millimeters. Okay, so about there. You can always drag these grey arrows, or you can type it in here. So 10 millimeters, green tick, and then we've got our base shape there. So save that, file, save as, save it in your documents, and make sure to save it as your base so that you know what it is and save it in your folder so we can come back to this one. So I'll call this base because we will need that later. So have a go at doing that. Make sure you go back and rewind the videos if you're not sure or if you're stuck on anything. Good luck.